As the time surprisingly is not made out of rubber and I'm running a bit out of it, I will cover what was today while I will do what's remaining for tomorrow. So the start was extremely fast, while it had to be, well, it was 2 kilometers neutralization. Guys were flying, so did I. And after we went out of neutralization into gravel road, that didn't change at all. So everyone was pushing and I had no other choice as to do the same thing. But as soon as the climb kicked in, I said goodbye to elite riders and tried to settle my pace. However, that was not too easy to achieve, and quite a lot of guys passed me by the first time point, I guess, checkpoint. I've been extremely suffering on the climb, trying to get myself back into my body, but basically I was not able to do it up to the top of the climb. So for the whole duration I was struggling a lot. Most likely carrying 2 cameras didn't help much, but well, that was my decision. I put the camera too close. Well, it wasn't that close, but then suspension compressed on one jump. It was bad for the camera. So it hit. I don't even imagine how it was able to turn because it's really rock solid, tight, but it did. It flipped. Then I tried to flip it back, and after doing so, it was like pointing a bit too much up. And because today I chosen not to go with power banks because it was supposed to be quite short stage. Well, it wasn't that long. But after I started to struggle on the climb, I was a bit suspicious that I'm not able to capture it all. So I stopped the front for a while, and that was not too big of an issue, but it would have lasted. I finished in 1 hour 36 seconds. Leader was maybe 1:18 or something like that. That's leader of elite. Usually what I do when I mount the camera is to make sure that the rear wheel is visible. I'm doing that by this. If it's not visible, there's no sense of movement and it's not as good as it's with the tire. But of course, when you're riding the full suspension bike, suspension moves, you get a bit more of the tire. Now I at least know that if it happens, I shouldn't rotate it too much like I did today. So it was like pointing almost under my saddle. So after we went at the top of the climb, there was very nice single track down, which surprisingly I was the fastest among the ones who were around, and I overtook all of them with some struggles at some points, but yeah, that was a bit surprising, but probably I'm getting a bit better and better over time in the downhills, which is nice. However, where I'm not getting better is fast gravel descents, where guys flying like, I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, there were a few close calls where it was loose and I had to jump over the stone and then it was loose again. I just don't feel comfortable on high speeds and such terrain, but yeah, that's just me. Today were also quite a few wet places, not like too much, but there were some, so we came back a bit dirty. In the last few kilometers we've been riding with a guy 305, so he's in my age group, and we finished together. He actually wanted to greet at the finish line and we just crossed the finish at the same time, giving a handshake. So yeah, that was a nice experience. In general, looks like the organization is at the high level. Yeah, I'm not going to say that because it was a bike wash, but just you can feel that everything is quite well planned, well prepared, etc. So yeah, that's nice. What awaits for tomorrow? It's 46 kilometers, 1,700 meters of elevation based on the Strava routes. Today I've been riding without charging. I will insert different doors. The difference of those doors is that this one is without the charging port, this one is with the hole. And that hole allows me to charge from power bank camera. Tomorrow is going to be a hard day in the saddle, tons of climbing. Usually what I do is I cover the ports so they are not getting water, and I'm leaving only one at the same time because it's going to be stage race and I will need to charge it for our stage. I make sure that this one is accessible. So I'm not going too much into detail about this. I insert the cable first in order to make sure that there's enough space for it. I don't know, maybe there could be other places where this could be added, but somewhere under those handlebars could be an option as well. Well, that's for the future. Tomorrow, the start is at 9:30. At 9:30, it's 6 degrees or so. We are going up to 2,100 meters. That is quite a number, and the temperatures will be low. For that reason, I will use thicker sweatshirt, hand sleeves, something on the neck, as well as cap. Well, this one is with holes. I might use other one, a bit thicker gloves. Coming here, I didn't have too much space in the luggage. I took only a few sponsor gels, which I used for a few seasons already, and I'm quite happy about them. Also, I wasn't so skeptical that after coming to 2 shops, they would say, sorry, we don't have any nutrition. I also been looking for 12-speed XT chain. Didn't happen in 2 shops. At the end of the day, I found a shop per tot, bought Marten gels. The good old Marten gels, which I've been eating quite a long time ago. And I already forgotten how sticky they are in the mouth. I took this on the last climb. It was very steep and I almost spit it out because swallowing it, crazy. But I don't have too much other choices. Talking about the choices, actually, after I finished, there was option to pick some test. It's like hydration and energy into a bottle. Maybe tomorrow I will try it, maybe not, I don't know. And I took also 1 gel, just in case I need something with caffeine. Marten are great, then you can normally swallow it and maybe even drink something because... So about stage 2, it was again very intense in the beginning, and this time probably it lasted similar duration as in a stage 1, carrying with front of a group, and then I just let the guys away and some girls as well because it was too intense for me. So with that in mind, I knew that we are approaching 1,000 meters climb in 16 kilometers, so that's quite a lot. And while there were a few minor flats, majority of the time it was 10% up. Trying to stay with the guys who are around, it was tough time anyways, and at some point I left them, and the remaining climb, which was at 2,100 meters of elevation, it was, I don't know whether it was because of the altitude. Well, it's not something too huge, but it still adds up. Also, the needle was dragging down like crazy, and in general it was quite a tough time. But then once you know that once that finishes you will have 8 kilometers of downhill, you just wait until that happens, and that was extremely nice. Even though there are a few places which were blocked for cows, so we would have to go from the bikes. It was extremely good time. And the funny thing is that even though that downhill still requires a bit of effort and attention, once you go on the flat, you have like boost of energy for at least a few kilometers. Actually, after the race, I realized that I could have helped a race leader which had puncture, but at that time I was flying through. I saw that person is doing something with a pump, so yeah, I could have helped her, but I didn't. And one very common thing here is that for certain everyone speaks Spanish or Catalunian. Their first primarily languages are those. Usually it takes time to ask to repeat something in English, not necessarily the person speaks in English. That's what happens when you are racing abroad in such a huge Spanish country. I don't understand, sorry. Okay, back.
Keep left to stay on I-4E.
So while the punctures and all sorts of wheels related technical issues were happening for quite a few participants, I managed to get away from it. But in the evening I noticed one thing which I'm not going to cover just yet. I will just see how it goes and then we can talk about it. So as always, if you go down, you will have to go up, and that was also the case. The first out of 2 climbs were fine. I even managed to catch a few guys. Actually, probably I wouldn't be able to do that, but I just tried my best. And it wasn't that hard than it looked like. So just 10 seconds effort or so with focus on, and you are already on the back of someone's wheel. Sometimes everything is just in your mind, and it does not necessarily that hard than it looked like. For some reason I feel quite good here on descending. Maybe that's a result of a lot of practice on various terrains. Especially this year it was very interesting due to Costa Blanca Bike Race, Ibiza, Vuelta, Ibiza MTB, as well as races in Poland, Bike Adventure, Sudeti. So yeah, that added up. Also, I've been in Gran Canaria this year, so those trainings maybe at some point give some fruits to reap. But once we reached the top of this climb, the descent was just gravel, on which I am not the best, let's say this way. So I had few very close calls where the front slipped. I don't know whether it's a matter of bad posture on the bike or definitely not too high tires pressure, because I'm running 1.2, 1.15 actually at the front. Maybe it's tire itself, it's Wolfpack speed. But yeah, that was not the best place to try to gain advantage against the other guys. And on the last time I lost literally everything. Maybe 10 guys managed to get past through me, and I was like absolutely without any power in my legs, and nor just normal breathing or whatever. In the bed, I kind of tried to rewind what might have happened, because in the last few kilometers I still managed to catch a few guys and sprint a bit. Oh, it's 0 degrees. Nice. So it might even be ice on the road. So after just reviewing the whole movie of the day, I realized that apart from fatigue, there potentially could have been two other issues. One is I missed the meal, even though it felt like I'm managing it, but probably at the intensity we were doing, it was just not enough. And the other thing potentially might have been not enough liquids. I haven't stopped in any of two feed stations because, well, I kind of had something still in my bottle, so why bother? But on the first climb I sweated a lot. Replenishing your liquids is very important, and I failed to do that. There was one guy who had a bit more problems than I did. I catch him somewhere near the end of the race. He said something in Spanish. I asked to clarify what he actually needs, and he said, "Do you have anything to eat?" He started to explain me something, but I had extra gel I gave him, and hopefully he was able to get back. Well, probably he was not able to get back into his shape, but there was not too much left, so yeah. The last climb was a cherry on top. Not a cherry, but on top for sure. And on the last descent, I managed to catch a few other guys and overtake them. All in all, stage 2 was great, and I have very high expectations on stage 3. The reason why I have high hopes for stage 3 is because there are like two, as far as I understand, technical descents, and hopefully things go well there. I have a chance to come maybe at 5th position if all goes well in Masters 30. So yeah, so why I always say that it's not important which place you will take. It's still nice to compete with locals and be competitive. So
turn right to stay on Cara Bergueda.
Stage 3 was different in a sense because it started in different place. Cerdanya, Cerdanya, which is the right one. It was 20 kilometers from the whatever. During the ride with car, it even showed 0 degrees. I considered using leggings, but then I decided that it's going to be climb and I will warm up. As always, if it's cold, you can add just a little bit more. With a catch that it's not the downhill. And there were downhills as well. On the first climb, I tried to be as fast as possible. Well, it was only in the beginning of it. I kind of knew which guys are nearby me based on our results, so that was an indication who I should try to leave behind. And it was quite success until the climb kicked in and I've been dropped by majority of those. So it was not like very tough one, just constant up to, I don't know, 10 degrees of climbing, so it was manageable, but I was still a bit slow. Thankfully, Monica Calderon catched me and I tried as hard as possible to stay together with her. In onboard, you will see how amazing she is on the climbing. Reason being why I said that, I saw her on stage 2 as well, quite a lot, maybe even a bit on stage 1. And she keeps on doing it standing. It's very impressive in my opinion because she can do the climbing standing without pretty much no issues. So that was nice. And being gentleman, I tried at least on the easier sections go in front to give her a bit of cover from the wind. She definitely didn't need it, but at least I felt a bit better than just staying behind her. I kind of expected that there will be single track downhill after we reached the first summit, but unfortunately it was a gravel one. I haven't put my hand sleeves and it was very cold. At the same time, I saw the guy falling. Oy, 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 oy. So that didn't add much of a confidence, while others were, like always, flying on those gravel roads. So I've been slow there. Slow, cold, losing places, everything in between. Being catched by others on the climb was kind of very common thing in this race. The only thing which I try from time to time is to stay with them at least a little bit until they leave me behind. So that was my goal on the climbs. There were also a few areas where we had to climb in the technical single track, which even though I very like, most of the time it was tough. But as well, there were some single tracks down, so that was a very nice section. Only in 25th kilometer or so, one of the master, and only in around 25th kilometer, one of my rivals managed to catch me. So I was doing quite okay effort anyways on that first few climbs. But then reality kicked in and everything settled into places. Actually, when I'm riding, I very much often check the profile on the Garmin in order to just know how much suffering is left. So I've been doing that for majority of the climbs, and funny that it shows that it's already finished, but it still have some small steep sharp edges on the profile, and it was never ending until finally we started the final descent, and it was like finally that fun part down stopped for a while because Calderon has crashed. That happened probably just few moments before me arrival, because the guy who stopped to help her was really not far away. I don't know what was the reason, but I assume that somehow she hit the rock stone, and then who knows. Later down there was official post in the Instagram account of her team that she hit the head into tree, which looked like that because the helmet was not straight, and in general she was shocked, scared, and not exactly sure where she is around. So hopefully nothing major has happened. I just stopped, realized that our guy is talking Spanish and he's already helping her. Myself, I speak zero Spanish. Actually, I haven't took the phone on that day because I thought weight savings on. That would have been maybe beneficial, but medical staff was already coming her way and everything went fine there. The technical descent was becoming more and more technical. The very steep parts where some personnel on the course even showed us to slow down a bit because that was pretty sketchy areas, and then you spin the movie in your head that pro athlete of such caliber, she won majority of the races this year. She attended Swiss Epic, Andorra Epic, a few other, so yeah, that speaks for itself. So wanted to or not, it enables a bit of safety trigger, but I tried to do my best on that trail. Anyways, I got stuck after slower guys in the single track, but on the climbs they were just strong enough to keep in front. So yeah, I realized that I should overtake one of them. And he blocked me by pushing into the building, for he only knows reasons why. So at that point, that was a bit too much for me to handle. I let off the throttle a bit and tried to calm myself down, but if I only knew that in front there's going to be yet more single tracks, that would have been a case. However, that was like it was, and I got stuck once again. I mean, let's be honest, it doesn't change the thing, just the fact of how fun you get out of last kilometers after such hard climbs. That's the only thing which matters. Actually, I just realized I haven't took this one yet. Yeah, I've been struggling behind, tried once potentially to overtake him. That was not successful. And for sure, because what he did in the previous moments, I understood that he's not going to let me away that easily. And on the flat towards the finish, I just stayed behind him for the last stretch towards the finish. And then I thought, because he is a bit of a shady guy, it would be a good idea to overtake him before the finish straight. And that was partially great, but maybe because I said ciao, he decided that no, not ciao this time around. And he went inside the corner, and not like he just went there, he pushed me into the gates, so I had to brake significantly, and then that was just not long enough finish straight where he would have regretted his moves. It would have been longer, not because I would do something stupid like he did, but because I would for sure spend that last energy bits to make sure that he falls behind. However, that didn't happen. I was a bit of annoyed by such maneuver, probably because he already did that once in the past, and at the same time he blocked me in the single track. Hopefully that warms his heart, like I usually say. But in general, it was a very nice race. I enjoyed it big time. The single tracks down were amazing. Being a foreigner in country which is not too much into English has some disadvantages, but nothing which should distract you to participate in such race. There is one thing which I said before stage 3 that we will talk about it later, and that thing is here. So what I noticed in the evening before stage 3 is that there is a crack, and I noticed that crack after seeing water on this area. What I did to kind of try to survive this rim, I applied a tape, and it held it quite well during the stage. But at the same time, I noticed toward the end of the race that the rear is a bit floating. So considering how technical and sketchy the last descent was, I just can't say that I was fucking lucky to don't completely damage this. Usually after the race, next day, I go for easy rides, which I'm also going to do with this. Actually, just for the sake of covering this. Initially, it wasn't that bad. After the stage, it became that big. Hopefully, it will survive one more ride. And to say something about this wheel in particular, the rim is Lucky Jack's Ultra. So if you know anything about Duke's rims, Ultra means ultra light, and actually the weight limit for it is 95 kilograms, which I'm pretty much around the edge. And this rim holded me 3 years, so I can't complain at all about it. Those who say, hey, it should have lasted at least 5, I believe that you say the same thing about bottle cages, gear, etc. So that's not how things goes when you are actually using them, and using them for maybe even too advanced stuff. I'm still here in Catalonia for upcoming few days. On Wednesday I'm leaving, so on Tuesday I will try to do something here in the region. If it doesn't work out, I will try to do something maybe in Girona. And in case you wonder why I'm trying to solve this if I'm coming home from the race, I'm not coming home yet. For the bike, for the clothes, for everything, Evoque, not sponsored by Evoque. As Catalunya Bike Race has ended and I'm packing my bike already to another flight, it would be a good idea to cover what bike I've been riding with, because there are a few things which might be useful for others as well. One of which is proper tire selection. For the rear, I had Pirelli Scorpion 6C RC with Pro Wall. Excellent tire for this type of terrain. Front is Wolfpack Speed, and this is wrong tire. The reason being, I will cover in the future. Whenever it's hard packed, high knobs without proper side knobs is bad choice. What happens is that those do not cut into the dirt because there's basically no dirt, only loose gravel. Doesn't help at all in especially fast corners. You can already feel the moment then you are going to lose your front. It happened a few times. There were very close calls. I blame the tire, not myself. Not about the tire's pressure. I already figured this out in the past, but because I just didn't know what terrain it's going to be, I decided that a bit chunkier tire would be great for front. As it turned out, it's not the case. 34 Fox factory, and it actually has custom stickers. If you are interested, there's a video about that, not edited yet, but it will be at some point. And it's Scott Spark RC Pro 2022 model. I already have more than 20,000 kilometers on it. Recently, I changed the swing arm rear triangle because there was too much wear. I damaged my Duke's like